The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council chambers gleamed under the light of three suns, their surfaces reflecting the faces of beings from across the known galaxy. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the semicircular assembly, her human form dwarfed by the towering representatives of species that had ruled space for millennia. The Zephyrians with their gossamer wings, the rock-skinned titans of Kepler 442b, the energy beings of the Proxima Collective, all had gathered for what humanity believed would be their moment of acceptance into the galactic community. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs as she watched the council's faces, searching for any sign of the warmth that had been promised during the preliminary negotiations. For 3 years, Earth had proven itself worthy. They had shared their music, their literature, their scientific innovations. They had opened their borders to alien observers, demonstrated their commitment to peace, and even agreed to technological restrictions that would prevent them from developing weapons of mass destruction. All for this moment, the vote that would grant humanity full membership in the Galactic Council. The vote came swift and merciless. One by one, each representative cast their decision into the quantum matrix that hung suspended in the chamber's center. Red lights began to outnumber blue until the result became undeniable. Rejected. Not just rejected, unanimously rejected. Elena felt the blood drain from her face as she stared at the sea of crimson illumination. High Counselor Vexai of the Andromedans rose from his floating throne, his voice resonating through universal translators with the weight of absolute authority. The application of the species known as humanity has been denied. Furthermore, by unanimous decision of this council, the Sol system is hereby declared a quarantine zone. No vessel may enter or leave. No communication may pass beyond the established perimeter. This decision is final and irrevocable. The words hit Elena like physical blows. Quarantine. They weren't just being rejected, they were being imprisoned in their own solar system. But why? She managed to whisper, though her translator amplified the question for all to hear. We've met every requirement. We've proven our peaceful intentions. You've proven exactly what we feared, Vexai interrupted, his multifaceted eyes glowing with cold calculation. Your species possesses a fundamental flaw that makes you incompatible with galactic civilization. You are too dangerous to be permitted among the stars. Elena's mind reeled. Dangerous? Humanity had bent over backward to demonstrate their commitment to peace. They had dismantled their nuclear arsenals under galactic supervision, redirected their military spending to humanitarian causes, and established global unity for the first time in their species' history. I don't understand. What danger do we pose? A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the assembled beings. Counselor Threshka of the Silicon Collective spoke next, her crystalline form chiming like broken glass. Your emotional volatility, your unpredictable nature, the way you bond so intensely with other species, even former enemies, it is disturbing. Our capacity for forgiveness and friendship disturbs you, Elena asked, incredulous. Your capacity for fury, Vexai corrected. We have studied your history extensively. When your kind believes they have been betrayed, when you feel that trust has been broken, you become something else entirely, something primal and unstoppable. We cannot risk that fury being directed at us. The chamber fell silent, except for the hum of the translation matrix. Elena stood alone in the center of the vast space, surrounded by beings who had made their decision based on fear rather than evidence. She thought of Earth, of the billions of humans who had watched the live broadcast with hope in their hearts, now witnessing this moment of ultimate rejection. So you imprison us, she said quietly, because you're afraid of how we might react to imprisonment. The quarantine is for the protection of all galactic civilization, Vexai declared. Guard vessels have already been deployed. Any attempt to breach the perimeter will be met with overwhelming force. This session is concluded. Elena was escorted from the chamber by energy beings that felt like walking through cold fire. As the massive doors sealed behind her, cutting off the murmur of alien voices, she activated her personal communicator to send a message back to Earth. The transmission would take weeks to reach home, but it would be the last message to make it through before the quarantine field activated. Mission failed, she whispered into the device. They're afraid of us, they're locking us in. On Earth, the reaction was everything the Galactic Council had feared, and more. The revelation that humanity had been judged not on their actions, but and their potential for retaliation ignited something primal in the species. The careful diplomacy, the measured responses, the patient negotiations, all of it crumbled in the face of this ultimate betrayal. President Chen Wei's address to the United Nations was broadcast globally, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. They studied us for years. They watched us disarm ourselves, watched us transform our world in pursuit of their approval. And all the while, they were planning this. They feared our anger, so they created the very conditions that would justify it. The response was unlike anything humanity had ever orchestrated. Every nation, every corporation, every research institution turned their focus to a single goal, breaking free from their cosmic prison. But this wasn't just about escape. It was about proving the Council wrong about human nature while simultaneously proving them absolutely right. Dr. Sarah Kim had been working on theoretical faster-than-light communication when the quarantine went into effect. Now, driven by a fury that burned colder than the space between stars, she threw herself into her research with an intensity that frightened her colleagues. She worked 18-hour days, sustained by nothing but coffee and the knowledge that somewhere beyond the perimeter, alien ships waited to destroy any human vessel that dared to leave. "They want to contain us because they think we're unpredictable," she muttered to her research partner, Dr. James Morrison, as they calibrated quantum field generators at 3 in the morning. "They have no idea how predictable we can be when we set our minds to something." 6 months after the quarantine began, Sarah achieved the impossible. Using principles that the galactic community had deemed theoretical fiction, she created a stable wormhole. Not just any wormhole, one that could be opened from anywhere in space, requiring only a quantum signature lock to establish connection. The technology was beyond anything the Council had seen from humanity, and it had been developed entirely within the confines of their own solar system. The breakthrough came from humanity's greatest strength, their ability to unite in the face of adversity. While Sarah worked on the physics, teams around the world tackled related challenges. Fusion engineers designed power systems that could sustain the massive energy requirements. Materials scientists developed hulls that could withstand passage through folded space. Computer programmers created AI systems that could calculate hyperspace coordinates faster than any organic mind. General Patricia Voss stood in the command center of humanity's newest creation, a ship they called the Vindication. It wasn't the largest vessel they'd ever built, but it was the most advanced. Every system had been designed with one purpose: to break through the quarantine and deliver a message that would echo across the galaxy. "All stations report ready," came the voice of Commander Liu from the bridge. "Wormhole generator is online, target coordinates locked." Patricia took a deep breath, thinking of Elena Vasquez, still trapped in diplomatic limbo at the edge of Council space. In 12 hours, Elena would be home, but first humanity had a point to prove. "Open a channel to all Council monitoring stations," Patricia ordered. Her message would be broadcast on every frequency the aliens used, translated into every known galactic language. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of 8 billion souls united in purpose. "To the Galactic Council and all who serve them, you betrayed our trust and imprisoned our species because you feared what we might become if wronged. Today, you discover whether your fears were justified. We could have built weapons. We could have designed ships of war to batter down your barriers through brute force. Instead, we built something better. We built a way around you." The Vindication's wormhole generator hummed to life, tearing a hole in spacetime itself. Through the breach, they could see the distant stars that had been denied to them, the infinite possibilities that lay beyond their solar prison. "You thought you knew humanity," Patricia continued. "You studied our history, our wars, our capacity for violence, and you decided we were too dangerous to trust. But you missed the most important part of who we are. We don't just fight our enemies. We outlast them. We outthink them. And when necessary, we leave them behind." The Vindication passed through the wormhole, emerging in space far beyond the quarantine perimeter. Immediately, Council patrol ships began converging on their position, weapons charging. But Patricia wasn't finished. "We're not here to fight you," she broadcast to the approaching vessels. "We're here to prove that your fear created exactly what you sought to prevent. You turned humanity's greatest admirers into your most innovative opponents. we who dreamed of joining your civilization. I have now surpassed it. The first quantum signatures began appearing throughout Council space as dozens of human ships materialized simultaneously. Not warships, exploration vessels, research platforms, diplomatic craft. Each one had emerged from a different wormhole, each one carrying the same message of defiant achievement. On the Council homeworld, alarms screamed through the crystalline corridors as reports flooded in. Humans had appeared in 17 different systems simultaneously, their technology apparently advancing by centuries in mere months. High Counselor Vexhai watched the tactical displays with growing dread, seeing his worst fears realized. "They're not attacking," reported his tactical advisor, confusion evident in the translated words. "They're just there, waiting." Vexhai's decision had been based on careful calculation. Humanity's emotional volatility made them unpredictable, yes, but their capacity for innovation under pressure made them truly dangerous. By attempting to contain them, the Council had accelerated their technological development in ways that peaceful contact never could have achieved. Ambassador Elena Vasquez materialized on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Perseverance, having been extracted from Council space by humanity's new wormhole technology. She looked older than her weeks in alien custody should have warranted, but her eyes burned with the same determination that had driven her species to this moment. "Open a channel to the Council chambers," she requested quietly. When the connection established, she found herself once again facing the semicircular assembly of alien representatives. This time, however, the power dynamic had shifted dramatically. "Honored counselors," she began, her voice carrying none of the pleading tone from their last encounter. "Humanity returns to ask a different question. We no longer seek membership in your organization. We've moved beyond the need for your approval. Instead, we offer you a choice." The chamber buzzed with agitated alien voices as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just escaped their prison. They had built technology that made the quarantine meaningless. Any species capable of instantaneous travel across galactic distances could effectively render borders obsolete. "Your choice is simple," Elena continued. "You can acknowledge that your assessment of humanity was flawed and open negotiations as equals, or you can continue to oppose us and discover just how creative we can be when someone tries to cage us. We've spent months proving that we can innovate our way around any barrier you place before us. How long do you think your galactic civilization can maintain stability against a species that refuses to be contained?" High Counselor Vexhai rose slowly from his throne, his ancient mind processing scenarios that all led to the same conclusion. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy through superior firepower. They had made conquest irrelevant by making distance meaningless. Any species that could appear anywhere at any time effectively controlled everywhere. "What do you want?" he asked, the question carrying the weight of surrender. Elena smiled, and for the first time since entering Council space, it reached her eyes. "What we've always wanted, to explore the universe, to meet new species and learn from them, to contribute our knowledge and culture to the greater galactic community. The only difference is that now we're not asking for permission." The silence stretched for long moments before Vexhai spoke again. "The quarantine will be lifted. Your species will be granted full Council membership, with all associated rights and privileges." "No," Elena said quietly. "We no longer need your membership. We'll create our own path among the stars. But we thank you for teaching us the most valuable lesson we could have learned, that sometimes the only way to earn respect is to make yourself impossible to ignore." As human ships began appearing throughout the galaxy, carrying explorers, scientists, and diplomats to worlds beyond counting, the Galactic Council faced a new reality. They had feared humanity's potential for fury and had created the very conditions that transformed that potential into an unstoppable force of innovation and determination. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through war. They had transcended it through the very traits that had made the Council fear them: their unpredictability, their emotional intensity, and their absolute refusal to accept limitations imposed by others. The species that had been deemed too dangerous for galactic civilization had instead redefined what galactic civilization could become. Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the Perseverance, watching Earth grow larger as they approached home. Her mission had failed completely and succeeded beyond her wildest dreams. Humanity had not joined the galactic community. They had forced the galactic community to expand. Its definition of what was possible. Behind them, in council space, emergency sessions were being called to address the new reality of a universe where borders were meaningless, and the species they had tried to contain had become impossible to control. The betrayal that was meant to protect galactic civilization had instead ushered in a new era where humanity's greatest strength, their refusal to accept defeat, would reshape the cosmos itself. The irony was not lost on Alina as she prepared her final report. The Council had been absolutely right about one thing. When humanity felt betrayed, they became something else entirely. They became unstoppable. They had just been wrong about what unstoppable looked like. It didn't look like conquest or destruction. It looked like 8 billion minds united in the single purpose of proving that no cage could hold the human spirit, no matter how vast or how well-intentioned. As Earth filled their viewports and home called them back, Alina smiled at the thought of the council members trying to explain to their constituents how their careful plan to contain humanity had instead set them free among the stars forever.